President Obama laying out his $4 trillion budget, saying it will help working families. He's got a plan to pay for it all. The president now says it's up to Congress to get the job done.
I know there are Republicans who disagree with my approach. And I've said this before. If they have other ideas for how we can keep America safe, grow our economy, while helping middle-class families feel some sense of economic security, I welcome their ideas. But their numbers have to add up.
Now with his reaction to the president's budget, Representative Tom Price, he's the new chairman of the Budget Committee. And, Chairman, it's good to have you on this morning.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
It's not the first time that we've seen, I guess, a Democratic president say, I'll raise defense spending, but I want you to raise social spending at least as much or more. This is just what, birds got to fly, fish got to swim, right?
Well, look, the president's words would be good news if, in fact, his policies had worked in the past. Remember, these are the same policies that have got us the slowest recovery since the economic downturn. Slowest recovery ever. His budget never balances. It spends more, taxes more, borrows more, and every single one of those dollars that is used for taxing and borrowing is a dollar that can't be used to buy a home, to buy a car, to pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, to send a kid to school. So this is just moving in the wrong direction. We think there's a better way to do things.
Well, you'll have some say in what finally happens, but obviously we want to try to arrive at some type of a budget deal eventually. Where's the common ground? Is there anything with the repatriation of funds that can work? Anything with infrastructure where common ground can be found?
I think there are two areas. One that you just mentioned. One is tax reform, modernization of our tax system. We've promoted that now for the last 4 years since we've had the majority here in the House of Representatives. We believe that modernization and bringing the tax code up to 21st century is the kind of thing that needs to be done to have a pro-growth economy. We need a healthy economy, one that's growing and creating more jobs and more opportunities. So there's a window of opportunity there. The second is in the area of infrastructure. We've long believed that we have to prioritize spending for infrastructure in this country, not just maintenance, but to expand capacity, especially in the metropolitan areas in our country. So there may be grounds for opportunity to discuss right there, but the president needs to be more than just a my way or the highway, which tends to be what he's been in the past.
Right, both sides. I take issue when I see people on other networks say, the Republicans at this point, they're putting up all these things that are never going to pass. They need to start governing. And they completely overlooked that a lot of the proposals put up by the administration, we did have an election. Elections have consequences. It's a Republican House. It's a Republican Senate. You can't it's not business as usual. You can't just put out your wish list of what you want to have. And it's both sides are
exactly right.
But that doesn't help the American people. That both of you have obviously you both have valid points, but that doesn't help get anything done.
No, and that's what they said in November, I think. The American people said we want divided government, we want a legislative branch that's united, and we want the executive branch and the legislative branch to work together to solve the challenges that we have, because they're huge. And we firmly believe that if we can get on a path to a balanced budget where the federal government doesn't spend more money than it takes in, if we can put in place programs that will actually save and strengthen and secure Medicare and Medicaid instead of them going broke, which is their current trajectory and apparently the one that the president supports, and if we can put in place some pro-growth policies like tax reform, like energy policy. The Keystone is a classic example, a program that would create jobs and increase American energy, and the president seems to oppose that. It just doesn't make any sense to the folks back home when I talk to them.
It's pretty amazing that a couple of years ago, the entitlement explosion that's on the horizon was front and center, and we had a commission, and we talked about grand bargains.
That's right.
This budget, it isn't even mentioned how to rein in Medicare or Social Security or anything else.
It's astounding. It really is. Social Security Disability Insurance Fund goes broke next year, 2016. Not 2030, not 2033, goes broke next year. And the president doesn't even talk about the kinds of things that we need to be able to save and secure that program for the folks who are appropriately receiving those benefits. Same is true for Medicare and Social Security. Those programs are destined to be insolvent in a relatively few number of years, and the president completely ignores it. So we have to believe the president thinks that the path that we're on, that is going to insolvency for those programs, is what he wants. That's not what the American people want. Again, we think there's a much better way to do it.
So I don't want to, none of us are interested in making sausage, but how are you going to, what will you go back and say, and who will you say it to, and how will this grinding progress be made between Congress and the administration? What can we expect?
Well, the President's budget is the first step, and thank goodness he brought it out on time this year. We will go back to our committee in the House of Representatives and work on our budget. We will pass our budget through the House probably in the last week of March, which is the appropriate time for the House. The Senate will do the same. Then the House and the Senate will come together and work out any differences that there are there. And then we look forward to working with the administration on moving forward on these policies that are so vitally important to get this economy rolling again and getting more jobs and more opportunity for our country.
I guess it's a concession to some extent that maybe the world is still dangerous, and maybe we should not allow our armed services to sort of atrophy, given ISIS, Ukraine,
yes,
and everything else that we thought all that was settled, didn't we? Or at least we were told it was.
Well, there's no doubt that the world's a very dangerous place, and what we've challenged the President to do is to define a mission, define what the strategy is, and then we'll find the resources to be able to fund that mission. The problem that we have with the White House is that they seem to define the budget, never define the mission, and then try to cram the mission into that budget. We think that's backwards. It's a very dangerous world, and we need to do our number one job, which is to protect and secure the United States of America.
Right. Congressman, thank you. What's your city down there in Georgia? Where are you from? Which district?
It's the 6th District of Georgia, northern suburban Atlanta. We live in Roswell, but it's Marietta, Roswell, Alpharetta, Sandy Springs, Dunwoody territory, all great territory just north of the city of Atlanta.
Okay, awesome. All right, great. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. We'll hopefully see you again at some point.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.